Hello and welcome to the SC Playbook podcast here of the 2025 NRL Supercoach season, brought to you by Mortgage Choice SCW. A ball has been kicked. We have rugby league action in 2025 with the first of the pre-season challenge trials playing out over the weekend, and we learnt one major thing heading into the season, and it's that, Spy, to be the best, you have to beat the best. And the Canberra Raiders did that. I'm pretty sure the bookies have reeled them into new premiership favourites. I can't remember the exact team Penrith threw out, but I'm pretty sure Cleary played. Luai might have even pulled on the jersey as well. So a big win for the Raiders, mate, and exciting times ahead.
Yeah, farewell game for Luai, wasn't it? He came back and just had a quick run around. It meant a lot to the men in black, but obviously not good enough for the boys in green. So... yeah, looking good, mate, for yourselves. Yeah,
and Paddy shut down Cleary in that game and was quite dominant over the star halfback. So promising signs for the Raiders.
I actually barely even noticed Cleary playing that segment that the Raiders were. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was very impressive. How are you, mate?
Bloody good, mate. Getting back into the swing of life for 2025 and young fellas at school now, which is pretty exciting, and trials are back, so just getting into it, mate.
How good. Also with us today, as always, the man behind the cameras, Matty the Waterboy. Matty, how are you?
I'm good. Did I text you about my dream yesterday? I did, didn't I?
Yeah, it's an updated dream from last week.
Oh, it's a much worse dream. Last dream was funny, but this dream was horrendous. I actually didn't give you a part B, but I'll give you it now. So basically what happened in my dream is it was round one and I forgot to put my reserves on. So I got 408 and... yeah, which was obviously a really bad score. But Timmy was like a two-prong kind of thing. He was like, oh, everyone kind of went bad, but it doesn't matter. But then you were like off me for like not doing it.
Yeah,
so
for not taking it seriously.
Yeah, for not taking it seriously enough. So it became this huge thing. I was very relieved to wake up.
I tell you what, the way your year has started, that's two really heavily analytical, deep Supercoach nerd dreams in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. It's been hopefully a sign of things to come for me. Well, sorry, not skipping not missing out on my reserves or anything, but yeah.
Oh, was the dream heavy. Continued from the original dream?
No, it was completely different.
Just checking, because that would be huge.
Yeah.
Because often I'm in dreams like, I wish I could go back to it. But
that might have been a bit of karma for ruining Guru's Supercoach draft. Me forgetting my things in round one, but thankfully, no, they're very separate.
Yeah, I often have that one. The other one I have is Joey Manu continuously going down injured for my team. That's a horrible dream. I hope that never actually happens to my side.
Yeah.
And then the other one that always happens to me is Melbourne Cup Day, one of my favourite days of the year, and I miss putting my bet on about 10 seconds into the race, and I'm watching the Melbourne Cup without a pun on it. I was like... anyway.
Well, I have one, real quickly, very common. Playing maybe an NRL side, I've got the call-up or a test cricket for Australia, whatever it may be, and I cannot get on the field, or my boots won't go on, or I can't get the lace up. It's continuous over about 3 or 4 times a year. But I got on the other night, played with Sambo in the halves for the Raiders, and obviously ran the show and went pretty well. So it was good to finally, after 35 years, get on the paddock. Yeah,
good stuff,
mate. It was awesome.
Good to hear. Enough of our dreams, because you probably don't give a rat's, but it's too late now. You've heard them. Guys, on today's show, Team List Tuesday. The first proper Team List Tuesday of the year. Let's say 80% of the way there. Might be a little bit generous. But yeah, mixed news for a pair of Raiders cheapies heading into Vegas with a pretty telling side name there. Spy, your team reveal on this one, which will be exciting. Our team previews, knocking off 5 today. A little bit shorter, a little bit sharper. We've got a lot to get through on this. The Titans, the Dolphins, the Tigers, the Roosters, I said the Dolphins twice. There's another team there as well, I promise. Might be the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And our first listener questions of the season. The big one, can you consider fading Nathan Cleary? You bet your bottom dollar you can, because I'm half thinking about doing it. And there's a reason for that. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show. Guys, the SC Playbook Unlimited League code 434727. $1,000 in cold hard cash up for grabs to anyone that can knock off the SC Playbook team this season. If you look at me today and going, you're looking particularly good, Tim, I haven't had a nose job. It's the hat that I'm wearing. Kangaroo Tour hats. If you want one of these bad boys, if you're going to Vegas to support the opening games of the NRL season, it's an absolute must. And if you're not, just get one anyway, because they're absolute rippers. Head to his socials to check that out. We're also doing the first of our SC Playbook NRL Supercoach Draft podcast, which will drop, I believe, on Thursday. That is Maxi Bryden, an absolute draft nutter. And NRL Physio, a big scoop for that one as well, is on board for that. And lastly, guys, before we get into the team list, less than $2 a week, a third of your daily cup of coffee. You can subscribe to SC Playbook for our premium content each and every week. every new article on the site, each round, end of the preseason, access to our WhatsApp community. We've added new threads to that this week, including the game day list, the listener question and answer podcast thread, tons of things in there, late mail, contributor teams, it's heating up, access to our major prize money, the brand new exclusive subscriber-only podcast dropped for the first time last week, filmed me going through my top 10, I think it was, sub 5% owned players to start the season. Some great names in that one. That is on site now. To get on board, head to the menu at scplaybook.com.au and hit subscribe. The WhatsApp link comes in the confirmation email. Check your junk folder if you can't find it. Spy, enough of my crap. Let's get stuck into the good stuff.
Let's do it.
And that is Team List Tuesday. We're going to go through these quite quick, looking at the few pointers. There are a few teams that have been thrown out that there are some genuine Supercoach pointers to round one, and then there's a few teams that have just thrown out their reserve grade. So, mate, the teams have just dropped, so we're going to go through them a little bit loosely. But opening up the round, the Raiders and the Sharks on Thursday night. Mate, probably the big one here, and no major shock, but Savlio Tamale, the Dragons recruit on the wing, he's been named there in what looks a pretty, not a full-strength Raiders side, but a pretty damn strong one. Looks like he'll be a cheapie for round one. The question mark will be, is he just keeping the seat warm of Albert Hopper-Wade, who misses the Vegas game due to the incoming birth of his child? Obviously it all come down to cheapies in round one, but because we're going to get the Raiders team list a week before the rest of the competition, you look to start him, or are you a bit worried about job security?
Awkward, because we obviously won't know any other sides, so you can't base it on how many cheapies you've got. I would probably lean away from starting him if I can, given that Albert Hopper-Wade's in the mix there and he's a very good player. So I think there's every chance he does lose his spot. But yeah, if it's looking a bit tricky in the centres potentially, happy to throw him in and hope he holds the spot. But yeah, lean away from it initially.
The thing is, he's got a pretty conducive game to Supercoach scoring. He looks like a tackle buster, like he'll rack up some decent base. So whether he can play well enough in Vegas to hold that spot, however that pans out, he should only be hopefully one injury away in the back line, or at least the centre wing pairings, to hopefully get that spot back. So, look, after a couple of weeks of trials, we'll get a bit of an idea of what the cheapie scene looks like. I'll also have my cheapie article going up on site tomorrow now that we've got a full set of team lists. And just make the other one there. Owen Paddy killed it in the trial on the weekend. 2 tries in a handful of minutes. The hype was real. Harry Grant comparisons was always going to happen. But not in the Raiders squad for this one. Not surprising. They've gone with Tom Starling to start. Danny Levi off the bench. Probably means that Owen Paddy's a cheapie to start the season. Is not going to happen. But, I mean, the glimpses of him were fantastic.
Yep, that's it.
Jeez. That was the briefest.
You've summed it up nicely. I've got nothing more to add.
Fair enough. At the Cronulla Sharks then. Samuel Stone Street was the interesting one here, named on the wing in what's a very, very strong Cronulla Sharks outfit that's pretty close to what their round one team is going to be. Stone Street, he's one to definitely keep an eye on, and there's a few question marks around how they'll line up in Vegas. Will Kennedy has got the nod at fullback once again after playing on the weekend. Cade Dykes, Liam Ison, they aren't to be seen. So, Braden Trindle's named in the 6, Nico Hines in the 7. I think people were hoping that Trindle might be in the 7 and Nico in 6 just for dual position purposes, but that hasn't occurred, at least for this game. Anything sort of to take away from that one?
I just want to watch Nico and Trindle together. Obviously in a trial, but they'll try emulate how they're going to play in round one. So just how many touches he's getting, end of set kicking, that sort of stuff will be pretty pivotal as to a Nico Hines decision for round one.
So was that so hard, Spy? Just offering a bit of chat?
Don't talk me into it. You know how much I can talk.
Yeah. I said that we've got a long show today, so I told Spy to be a little bit shorter and sharper, and that's what he's come back with, one-word answers. The Knights versus the Eels at 6 p.m. on Friday in the second one there. The Knights, naming a mixed team. There's plenty of what will be their starting side in there, and then a few players on ice. Interestingly, Fletcher Sharp and Jack Coggan named in the halves. Fletcher Sharp at 5'8", Will Price is at fullback with no Kalen Ponga. Greggy Marju, we get a look at him on the wing, see how he's looking in this one. But Spy, the big one in the news came out. I think it was Kalen Ponga quoted saying in the last couple of days, Tyson Frizzell making the move to the middle this season, which answers a big question for us and certainly your side, which will mean we assume round one, Kai Pearce-Paul, Dylan Lucas on the edges. Probably, you would imagine this means 80 minutes for Dylan Lucas, who's in your side. Big news.
Big news. And Kai Pearce-Paul as well. He averaged 74 minutes a game last year, but 1 year into the NRL, maybe get his arm free a bit more on the right edge there. So, yeah, a bit of a look at both Knights back rowers there, as well as Fletcher Sharp, who I would never start with, but very exciting young talent. If they're starting at 5'8", they love him.
Yeah, at the Parramatta Eels, a mixed team in terms of strength for round one. There's certainly some good footballers in there. Isaiah Iongi, we get our first sight of him in the blue and gold at fullback. Dylan Brown playing 5'8", Ronald Volkman at the 7, no Mitch Moses. Brendan Hand starts in the 9 jersey. I think probably the main takeaway here, and again, hard to take too much from this list, but Kelma Tuolangi named on the edge with Kitione Katonga, the Doggies recruit. Charlie Geimer in the 13 jumper. Josh Papali'i, we had a look at him in the 14. Bryce Cartwright also off the bench there. Not too much to touch on. At the Cowboys, very little to touch on other than ahead of their trial with the Dolphins. Named a very weak outfit in this one. Robert Darby, a potential cheapie for round one, is named, which is not... Again, we're reading into this. It's only speculating, but named in what will be near enough their second string team.
It's not a good sign.
It's not a good sign for Robert Darby, so question marks around that. We'll get a look at Cohen Hess now. He's returned from a lengthy injury layoff. At the Dolphins for this contest, we get a look at Junior Tupu at his new club on the wing. Jake Averillo and Sean O'Sullivan in the halves. No Isaiah Katoa starting there. Again, not a lot to touch on at the Dolphins, so we'll move on from that one. Spy the Warriors and the Storm. There's a bit to take from the Warriors list. Bugger all at the Storm. Stefano Udukamanu does get a run to note, but at the Warriors... Tamari Martin, Luke Metcalf, they get another run in the halves in this one. Metcalf playing in the 7, looked quite good in the trial game on the weekend. Goal kicking. Note, Tanner Boyd, nowhere to be seen, has a niggling injury, so it's not to say that Tanner isn't playing round one, but all signs probably point to at this stage a Tamari Martin and Luke Metcalf combination. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, he was laid out after being named on the wing last week. He's been named on the wing for this. I'm seriously interested in Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. And probably the other ones, Dimitri Vormega on the edge. Looks like an absolute bustling forward, a real genuine cheapie option for round one. He starts on the edge. Jacob Laban, who was named to start last game and ended up dropping out, he's dropped out of the team for this one, as have like James Fisher-Harris, Mitch Barnett. So don't take too much from it, but Vormega starting on the edge. The big one around it is Jackson Ford, who I sort of flagged as a potential if you can get an 80-minute edge roll, one who has a bit more upside. Ford's been named at prop. So, mate, a few takes there.
Laban, I think he's playing the rep match, so he'll obviously drop out of that one, get a chance to see the young fella on an edge there and just see what he can do. My main thing here is I just want to see Metcalf and Tamari Martin together again. I'm actually huge on Tamari Martin, but he also played the 7 role last year, so how does that... Do numbers mean all that much? Last week it did in the trial. Metcalf played that controlling 7. He had a really nice 40-20 and goal kick, which led to me putting a social media post out about him. Yeah, you'll find out he's not actually my side at the moment, but he's very close. But what I meant was the fact he hit a long 40-20 goal kicked. That's what you're looking for as a potential owner there. And Tamari Martin, I think, is an absolute point-scoring machine in Supercoach. But whether having that 6 jersey takes it away from him, I think it will, because he's kicking less end of sets. Maybe he gets less touches. So I'm interested in the Warriors to see how they rock out on the weekend and see what they do.
Are you slightly tempted to start tomorrow, mate? We'll get to your team shortly, but that'd be a huge super pod to start the season.
If he played 7, I would. I don't like him quite as much at 6, but if he gets plenty of touches on Friday or Saturday when there is, yeah, potentially. A little sneaky pod early, and then I can always move him on if needed.
Yeah, the fact that Tanner Boyd is lingering as well, a pretty new-look Warriors side this year. If they start slow, how long does he last? I wouldn't be paying up for him, but I'll leave that dilemma to you, Spy. The Bunnies and the Seagulls on Saturday at 3:30pm. Jai Gray at fullback, no Latrell Mitchell in this one. Peter Mamazoulos starts at number 9. The halves pairing of Jamie Humphries and Lewis Dobb. We know Cody Walker is in doubt for round 1, so don't probably expect to see him in the trial games. Matty, I suppose on this one, firstly, you get a look at Humphries and Dodd, who, as far as I'm concerned, they're going toe-to-toe for that jersey in round 1. I don't think the English import in Dodd is locked into that 7 jersey. And probably the other one there is just Isaiah Tass named at centre. We were probably expecting him to get named on the wing. Maybe it's just cover for Campbell Graham, who's in doubt for round 1.
Campbell Graham in doubt. There's also, I don't think they'll do this, but there's a chance that if Cody Walker's out, then maybe they'll put Whiten at 6 and then put Tass at centre. I don't think they'll do that, because then you're kind of just screwing with everything else. You're kind of moving too many positions around. I actually didn't. I've been a bit all over the place. I thought Jaden Sullivan might be somewhere. But is he not on this team?
He's not in the team list at all.
Okay. So
Make of that what you will.
Look, I'm not going to pretend to get in the head of Wayne Bennett or South, who rarely give updates on injuries. So, yeah, I don't think Dodds is locked in at all. I think it's between him, Humphries, and Sullivan. With Cody Walker out, I saw a report maybe Sullivan and Dodds could be the halves in round one. Then you kind of got two halfbacks, and if Dodds is the halfback and he's actually a sixth, then why would you? It's all a bit confusing. I know as much as everyone else. I have no idea what they're going to do. It seems like Dodds is going to be the halfback in round one, but yeah, I don't think anyone's. I'm not saying that with any confidence. Put it that way.
I mean, even from a Supercoach perspective, Spy.
Look, I'm dribbling. I'm all over the place because I actually don't know. It's hard to get a read on.
And to be fair, I would be surprised if Wayne Bennett knows who his seven's going to be round one. He would absolutely have a lean to Dodd or Humphries or whoever it is. And look, Dodd has come over from England. He's been signed by the club on decent money. I would imagine it's Lewis Dodd, but with a couple of trials to come, if Humphries kills it and Dodd struggles in his first hit-outs in the NRL, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if Humphries started this season. But I do think Dodd is probably the front runner.
The front runner.
The front runner. Thank you, Spy.
Latrell's going to do everything anyway. He'll jump in and play that 5'8" fullback hybrid. And he's going to be good to watch early, isn't he?
He is terrifying for non-owners, exciting for owners. Nothing to touch on at Manly, who have named a relatively weak squad in that one. The Broncos versus the Titans, also 3:30. That's Sunday. Not a lot to probably touch on at the Brisbane Broncos. A lot of key faces missing in that one, so I wouldn't read into that squad too much. At the Gold Coast Titans, a little bit there. I don't know how much of it's Supercoach relevant, but AJ Brimson and Kieran Foran in the halves. Jalen de Groot is at fullback, so no Keanu Kinney. There is no Jaden Campbell to be seen there. Probably a good thing with his injury history. Why play him? Pretty strong forward pack. We had a look at Dave Fafita, both Fermel, Chris Randall, but nothing too much to touch on there, Spy.
Fafita's my big one, just see how he's looking.
Yep.
Obviously, if you want to pay up for a max back rower, there, an elite fella, then he could be your man if healthy.
Doggies and Tigers, 5:30 on Sunday. Not a lot to touch on at the Doggies. Bailey Haber will start at 9 with no Reid Marnie to be seen. Tom Amone off the bench. Harry Hayes starting on the edge in the back row there, but nothing major in that one. Blake Wilson is on the wing, which probably suggests that Marcello Montoya will start on the wing in round one. Again, it's a long way out. Things will change. At the Tigers, a few decent faces. Lockie Galvin and Latu Fainu in the halves starting this one. Talon De Silva at 9. We know Api Coruscant is out of round one. Your boy Samuel Fainu, nowhere to be seen in that starting side or in the squad at all, Spy, which changes very little. Heath Mason's at fullback. Drell Skelton will get a look at on the wing. But yeah, a lot of key faces missing. I wouldn't read too much into your Tigers.
Not at all.
Nah. Dragons and Roosters, Sunday at 7:30 to round out the trials. At the Drags, Clint Gutherson at fullback. It's a pretty strong side. Flano and Ilias in the halves. Damien Cook at 9. So they've got basically their full strength spine there. Spy, Toby Couchman. You've got a little bit of an eye on him, and you've got to add a bit of intel, a bit of inner study.
Oh, it's a bit of shout out to the WhatsApp group. I don't know who put it in, but just saw the name Toby Couchman mentioned this afternoon. Went and had a look at him, and he's a bit of a monster. I think he averaged 49 or something in 38 minutes last year, in enough game time as well. So if he was to nab a starting front row spot, I do wonder what his minutes would be like. And, if he's putting up those scores, maybe he can do even better, but just one to monitor across the trials, I think.
Huge watch. Jack DeBellin named at lock in that one. Emre Gula, the other recruit, is in the front row with Couchman. At the Roosters, no Tedesco, Ethan King is at fullback. They've named a pretty strong side, the Roosters, and there actually are a few takes from this one, Spy. Dom Young and Junior Ponga on the wings. Mark Nwangani Tawasi and Robert Toya in the centres. No Billy Smith to be seen anywhere. So maybe they're getting the first hit up, maybe they're getting the first crack. A big watch on that one. We get to see Sandon Smith and Chad Townsend have their first hit out together. Few relevant things in the pack. Cyril Wong named at lock. Victor Radley on the edge. I don't really know what to make of this because I think from a Supercoach perspective, Wong as a cheapie, we were maybe hoping a big minute edge roll. Radley's actually been named on the edge. What that does is it opens up minutes in the middle. If he's going to play as an edge, which it'd be weird to name him on the edge along with Butcher if they were going to play him through the middle. Spencer Lenu starting with Nafu White. White at prop, probably would have preferred to see him at lock, but regardless, if Radley's an edge, I mean, Angus Crichton's coming back in as well, so we don't know if it'll be Crichton and Radley or Crichton and Butcher, but it puts one of either White or Wong potentially on that round one radar.
White especially. Radley was very good on the right edge last year. He ran some hard lines, but he also added some passing to his game, sort of on that edge. Remember a little floater out to the right winger at one stage there, so maybe they like what they saw and they're happy with their middle forwards. I'm not sure. But, yeah, one to probably come round one, just see what's happening there. But Nafahu White, big watch there.
Radley's a big minute middle, as we know. So if he starts on the edge, where he played obviously a lot of last year, and Nat Butcher were to go to the bench, someone's getting minutes there. It's a good sign.
Yeah, I know, right?
So, again, we'll see how the trial plays out. And as we know, round one team list, that'll be the key to that one. But a close eye. Spy, team reveal 2025, round one. Firstly, team name?
I'm going to go to Cheers this year.
Just straight Cheers.
Yep, straight Cheers.
Simplifying
So that's a shout out to the old bloke, our old man there.
I like it.
Yeah, and all my sporting teams, which I run, I was tag touch footy, bloody everything, always called Cheers. Called myself Cheers in the NBA this year, and
How'd you go?
it's still going. Okay, sitting third, so in the box seat. So I think Cheers for 2025.
Feels like first would be in the box seat. Third, you've got work to do.
Box seat. Where's the box start, I guess? It's a really big question.
Such a weirdo, Spy. Let's get to your team reveal, mate. Hookers, who have you started with?
Connor Watson, initially. I just like him. He's got, speaking of minutes in the middle, I mean, he might jump in at hooker there, but maybe also covers some lock for the Roosters. But I do like him. Would have really liked to start with Harry Grant. Does have a round 2 bye. Connor's got that dual flexibility as well, so I can sort of shift any back rower out if I want to bring in Harry, and Connor can go down to the back row. So I'm just liking him at the moment, see what he can produce, especially after playing Origin last year. The Roosters will need him. So Connor starting hooker there, and then Peter Mamazoulos on the bench for the Bunnies. So we'll see how trials play out and how that round one side looks especially. But I like some glimpses of what I saw from Peter last year, and certainly got some Supercoach points in him, so they're my starting hookers.
And I'll jump ahead to your halfback slot there, Spy, and you've got Nathan Cleary and Sandon Smith, because the main thing I want to talk about there is the fact that you've got Sandon Smith down in that halfback role. Now, we're going to chat about Cleary in particular and that slot when we get to the questions. But with your current thinking, why Sandon in the halfback role?
Just to fit Connor in, really. If I decided to drop Connor out, Connor could go to the back row if I wanted. I could shift Sandon up to starting hooker if I wanted. So there's just some flexibility there. I don't really have to decide until, that first kick-off in those matches. But it's good. Sandon can slot round. Connor can slot round. That flexibility is pretty handy, I reckon.
Your front row, what have you got?
Front row, Terrell May straight in, of course. As we've discussed many a time on this podcast, my relationship with Terrell. Corey Horsburgh, his front row partner. Hearing good things from Sticky during the week about Corey, and hopefully get him back to his best, back to his Origin self. He's an interesting one this year. He's trimmed up a lot, so I do wonder how his power will be through the middle, but he'll certainly be fit enough for big minutes.
I was having a chat to the horse's mouth himself, Big Red, on Friday, and mate, he's looking phenomenal, but just confident. He's a humble fella, Big Red, and he's so confident in his game. I think he knows that he's coming off a down year after the highs of Origin and Queensland camp and all of that, and it just wasn't where he wanted to be last year. He just has so much belief in his game, and not from Red's mouth, but I think he'll start this year. I think we'll see that transition with him and Josh Papali'i, and maybe Papa comes off the bench.
Yep.
If not by round one, I think it'll happen at some point. Just he's looking in great shape. Then your bench is Royce Hunt and Vailepu. Obviously, a few placeholders there to keep an eye on. I suppose, mate, the big one in your back row, you've got Tino Fasua-Malawi there down in the back row. Talk to us about why Tino's in the back row and not in the front row.
No major reason apart from the fact I think it looks better. The reality is Corey's going to be in my 17, so is Tino. So Tino could swap to the front row right now, and Corey could be back row. I just think it looks better with a cheapie in the front row. That's my pure reason, and I don't mind probably building Tino into my back row, and if it comes the time to flip him up front, I can, but it's that age-old thing. I'd probably just prefer to spend money in the back row than the front row. But yeah, much of muchness there. They can both play the same position as each other.
Tell you what, we're going through your side now. I'm actually seeing it
live a little bit.
I put the article together on site the other day with you, and go check it out. Spy's team's on there, and we'll update it before the season starts numerous times. But he's done analysis on all the players as well. But just seeing the team in Supercoach format, a lot of Tigers action in here. So, Spy, you've got more faith in him than I do. What's your back row look like?
Back row, we've got Tino sitting there. Does have the round one bye, but I'm comfortable with that. Not too many blokes in the bye early in my squad as it stands. Jacob Preston, I wouldn't say first pick, but I love Jacob Preston, have for a long time. We'll see if we can get some word out of the doggies just to see how his minutes will be looking, but I just don't understand why he wouldn't be playing big minutes on an edge there. He's a try scorer. He can make line breaks. He's got a work rate. He's just an absolute gun.
Preston's the one where, like, I haven't considered him for my team. I see why you're going for him, but he's the one spot. I'm glad you've done it and put him in there because you haven't shut up about him for basically 2 years since he debuted. I think you've just got to back him in because you've got him in such high regard that if he comes out and kills it, you're just going to sit there and go, Spy, you said you were going to back yourself, but you didn't.
That's it. So he's in. Injury concerns are literally the only red flag for Jacob. He can find an injury early in his career. It's just hard as nails, but I think that's the beauty of starting with someone in round one. If a couple of blokes go down, you got trades there to flip them out. I'd much rather do that than bring them in when they're finding form, miss a good score, then they get hurt. There's nothing worse than that. Yep. So, I'm coming in clear-headed this year. I've got an analysis for you. Actually, you'll love this. I think the last couple of years was a little bit similar to when Tiger Woods redid his swing. Found some good rhythm, and what he did, in true story, before I talk some absolute rubbish, is he tried to make his swing even better. He was nearly unbeatable at majors. He went, I can still be better. And he searched for something extra, and he actually went off a cliff after that. And talk around the golf world is, if he didn't do that, what could his major count have been? Anyway, back to Supercoach.
That sounds like the greatest excuse of all time. Oh, my golf's gone to the shit just because I changed my swing.
But but he did it when he was at peak of his game. He changed it.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not going to doubt Tiger's golfing.
I'm coming at you after Tiger. But what I've really searched for the last 2 years, I think, when the buys have come in, I've been searching for an extra edge, and I think sometimes I've just gone too far with it and really just maybe overcooked some ideas, not to my detriment that I've been horrible, but things that maybe just gone away from what's worked in the past. So I've worked really hard in the off-season just to clear my head and get fit. A few sandhills. Now, just with I'm going quite well in a few of the different fantasy sports, and it's just with that clear mind.
Basics.
Just not trying too much, because basics still win it at the end of the day, and then you can search for an edge as the season goes if need be. But yeah, just trying to keep it real clear and do what Tiger didn't, go back to what works. So if I can win 4 majors this year, we'll be cheering. But yeah, just trying to do that. And part of that is just as simple as I really like Jacob Preston. I think he's awesome, so I put him in. Not going to worry too much. I haven't looked at too many other sides this year just yet. Just back it in and see what happens there. Which takes me to Samuel Fainu from the Tigers, third back row slot. He's not locked for me. He's just at a good price. One thing I don't want to do is have too many of these mid-rangers, sort of cheaper to mid-range back rowers. I think I did it 2 years ago. It might have been last year.
I think it was last year.
Last year?
I think the theme of the preseason was mid-range back row.
And I hated it. They just didn't come off real well, and I think it's just easier to start with some higher quality guys who you can trust. You can go straight down to a mid-ranger if you want to, if they're killing it. But I'll look through those mid-rangers. They're all capable of scoring really well. They're all capable of shitting the bed as well. So I'm just going to go to guys I trust more. I think out of all those guys, Fainu, again, he's a really good player. I watched him closely last year. Benji trusts him, big minutes. He's got some try scoring in him. So I think at the price, I wouldn't mind someone more expensive, but at the price, if I'm taking someone, I'll probably take him initially and just see what we can do, and obviously look for an upgrade sooner rather than later. But he's pretty good. He would have averaged, per 80 minutes, he averaged about 60 points last year in a Tigers side that came last. So if they can improve, let's see what happens. He's another year older. This is my most contentious slot on the bench. It's Alex Seyfarth at the moment. This is where I hit the mid-ranges that I don't like. I don't really love any of them. So you could just consider this spot wide open until round one. I've got Seyfarth at the moment. It could be Kelmer to Lungy. It could be and it could be Nafahu White. Actually, that would be even better because he's even cheaper.
Yeah.
And I don't want to mess around with him too much, but once we get through my side, you'll see why I have to have a couple in there because I've stacked a certain position. But that spot's wide open, that initial bench spot for back row, and then a couple of placeholders in Miles Martin and Jacob Laban. I have to learn how to say that.
Laban.
Yeah, Laban.
I believe.
Once he crashed over a couple of tries, I'll be sure to know it. But yeah, those two spots there. Let's wait for team lists. I don't really care who's sitting there at the moment in my side.
Seyfarth's one that I flagged in my subscriber podcast. I had a bit of a yarn about him, but 435k, he's in 2.5% of teams based on an average score per game of 44 in 48 minutes per game. Finished last year, 3 80-minute games on the edge. He averaged 63 points per game with 45 in base. The numbers are pretty good. So
he's a goer and he scores tries as well.
I just don't like job security. They've got, I think he's actually on development at the moment.
Yeah, right.
Ruben Porter, I think it is, who played a bit last year and looked pretty good. There's not a lot of edge depth there. Maybe they play Jack Bird there. I think we get the start round one, probably gets 80. I'm just not convinced on job security, but as you said, the price is pretty good.
Yeah. And if I can find money elsewhere, I might even go up to more of a reliable gun there in that position, but it depends on how I want the rest of the squad.
Mate, Cleary and Sandon Smith at halfback, 5'8". Talk to us about that.
This is my other contentious spot. I'm not sure whether to start with like a Lukey Metcalf, who I probably will, but at the moment I'm quite happy with my squad and I can fit Galvin in. I just think Galvin's incredible. He's everywhere. He's a competitor. He runs, he tackles. A couple of games last year, he had like 5 offloads and he's so good. And I think I'm speculating a bit here, but I think Luai helps him because Luai can run a good show and Galvin can just flip either side off him and just, I think when Galvin wants the ball, he will get the ball. There'll be no issue there. I think he'll build off last year. He started the year really solidly, but it was his rookie season, obviously. He only got better and better and better as the year went on. His passing game, his confidence, his running. A little bit like Jacob Preston, I just think he's unbelievable. So I think in a tough 5'8" spot, I could look to spend down on Metcalf and may well do that. But with Metcalf, he is running the show a lot, so I just wonder how points translate if he's passing more than running. Like he was running off SJ a lot of the time, and which led to line breaks. If he's just passing a lot at the line, how does that accumulate? So my mindset is sort of like, do I start with Lockie Galvin, just get off to a red-hot start, hopefully, just monitor Metcalf. If he's looking the goods, I can find a way to get him or drop him down. But Tigers have a pretty good run. Galvin's awesome. Just locking him in. And on the bench, Latu Fainu, that's his backup. So if he gets hurt,
I get it.
Yeah, he comes
I don't like
in.
it, but I get it.
Yeah, we've also got, I mean, I'm not aiming to have many nuffs in there, but I don't really want Fainu on the bench because then it just adds that auto emergency issue. I know the auto emergency will drop out this year, but still better to not have a bad one if you can avoid it.
And the other thing about your bottom one dropping out, there's every chance that 2 people in your team, especially early on when we've got a bunch of cheapy CT dubs and 2 hours from front rows playing, you could very easily have 2 sub-20 scores. Like it's so in terms of people, and there's actually a question on it later around that, so we'll touch on a bit more, but it's all good and well to say, the bottom score drops out, but what if you have 2? Like you still want security.
Yeah, for sure. In saying that, if you had that situation with a bench guy later in the year with a strong squad, your second worst score might be 50. And then he's getting a 10 and you're like, that's super annoying. At the moment, you might have 3 20s as your worst score, so it makes it less impactful.
I hated it when I first saw it, but I get it. Like if Galvin, my issue when people, I hate when people put an NPR, non-playing reserve, in a spine position where you've only got 1 backup because you're playing with 5, because then your starter goes down injured for a week and then you have to hold him because you're not going to sell him on 1 week out. But in this instance, Latu Fainu would start. So
play. And if Luai goes down, God forbid, they will both play in the halves. I'm
you're
cheering.
onto a winner.
Yeah, so
I don't hate it.
And a similar theme, I think he's an absolute gun. I've been talking to my mate Chucky about it all the time, and we're like, where do they fit Fainu? He's so good. He came over from Manly, highly touted. He is a very good player. I've even got a suspicion, this is based on absolutely nothing except my own mind, that he could even potentially play like a lock role for them as a 13 ball distributor runner. Like he's a good player, so I'm just backing him in. In saying that, if round 1 comes and there's a cheap 5'8" who's starting, happy days, I'll flick him in. But yeah, that's where I'm at the moment in the halves.
Yep. Yeah, I look at it and I'd think, if you can spend the extra 200k to get a starting halfback in Luke Metcalf and depth and play on matchup, I think that's the play. But it's $200,000, so you see if you can free that up or not before round one, and that's just my humble opinion. Mate, your CT dub, pretty stacked.
This is why I can't go to Metcalf with Galvin. Ruben Garrick, he's hurt me before. He's so good. Last year watching him, it was torture, and I like him. I want to see him do well. I live 5 minutes from Brookie Oval, so I don't want to be cheering against Ruben Garrick. So he's in. I think taking out his head knocks last year, which is a flag, he got knocked out 3 times early.
Yep.
He would have averaged like 79 in those 8-minute games. So it's crazy, and I think Manly probably improve in attack. They're at home early in the season, so he's coming in for me. If he then gets a head knock in round 7, I'll flip him to someone else, because at the moment I don't have Karaz, who is my boy.
Can't believe you didn't start with Karaz. I mean, there's still time, but
it's not.
Seriously,
it's not much to
you haven't
yet.
shut up about him for 2 years either, and there's no Karaz.
Well, I had him all last year. I just think he might be priced at about what he does. That's the reasoning.
So the next bloke,
Dylan Lucas is next.
Yep.
Again, love him. Back rower, talented. He's earned his spot there. Good base, try scorer. Has not left my side. And available in the centres. So to start the season, you can just rely on him, barring a disaster, to knock out that, a bad game might be 50 odd. And Beauty lock in 50 in my centres, but he's got that upside to score a ton as well. So love Dylan Lucas at the Knights. Next Knights partner on his same edge actually would be Greg Marju. I tossed and turned a bit on Greg, and at the end of that, I think this is a case of maybe overthinking something. It's like, didn't feel great about him last year. He wasn't going that well, but he's priced at 750k last year.
Correct.
Now he's 513. So it's almost like you've got a back rower in your centres to start the year with Greg. He'll punch out his 40s with work rate. And if he can get cracking, he's got tons in him. They got a pretty good draw early. Ponga, Bradman, Best together. Hopefully he can rekindle some of his magic from the season before. He averaged like 77 or something. So even if you get back up to 60, 65, we'd be cheering. And then if we want to move him on at hopefully 100k increase, they actually have the buy around 4. So that's my only concern with we have a certain fullback, Dylan Lucas, Marju. So that's 3 in my back line for the Knights. But maybe Marju can be moved on if he's not setting the world alight in round 4 for whichever centre is performing well and maybe has a low break even. They'll take their cash. So Greggy Marju, hard to pass up.
The other big one there in your CT dub.
Robert, how do you say his last name?
I haven't mentioned Lehigh Hopewadi.
Oh, I was going to get to him.
Well, you're going to Robert Toya before Lehigh Hopewadi.
I was going to say I could start with Robert
He's
Toya.
the glaring selection in your entire squad.
It's because I actually went the wrong order because I went the Knights guys. Before I get to him, Robert Toya, I was considering starting him if he's centre round 1. Tackle busting machine, dropping out one of those centres. And I have a lot of money elsewhere if I want to do that. But yeah, Lehigh Hopewadi, left wing, super talented. Watched him in the internationals over the break. He'll back up Tommy Troich at fullback. I just think he's awesome. So I think with those home games for Manly early, I did originally have Karaz, and I can still get Karaz in there, but I just think there could be some value on offer there. Hot start, and maybe then I'll shift him straight to Karaz in an ideal world for no extra cash. But I'm a big fan of Lehigh. So
you're really putting a lot of faith in the attacking stats coming. I think let's say Tommy Turbo stays fit all year and Manly, they start to play some depleted sides. They'll put some big scores on. Early on the year, I think the defence is going to be tight. I think Manly start with a bang. They could go, win 4 or 5 of their early games. If Hopper doesn't get the attacking stats, I feel like it could be some 15, 20-point scores. He's pretty awkwardly priced. I wouldn't even say awkwardly priced at $5.89. He's quite expensive.
He's my risk at the moment. Across my whole side, that's where I look at as my risk. And again, this isn't locked in. Like that was Karaz for a long time. Then I wanted to find room for Galvin, so I went down to Lehigh. I'm not locked on Hopewadi, but at the price, I don't love a lot of people around the price at the moment, and I'm not big on some of the cheapies, even like Munro from the Bunnies. I love him. I'm not so convinced the Bunnies draw's that good. I'm not sure what you said about it on the potties, but
first 2 are decent, and then they have round 3, 4, 5 are very difficult.
Sharks, Penrith, but even Saints round 2. Saints will be up to start the year.
Well, they're right here. We're about to chat about them. Dolphins away, Dragons away, Sharks away, Panthers and Roosters at home.
Yeah, I like round one. I don't really love any of the others, so I'm going to steer clear of Munro. Would have liked him in there at a cheaper price. But yeah, so that's a really interesting spot, that 4 centre, because I could opt to go cheaper and free up cash elsewhere, and maybe I end up doing that with 3 good centres already there.
I bet my bottom dollar, Hopewadi becomes Kiraz before round 1. You won't go cheaper, you'll find money for Kiraz.
Yeah, I like everyone else, so I don't know who I'm going to drop.
Yeah.
Actually, there is one way to do it. If Galvin goes to Metcalf, if he impresses in the trials,
I'll put a Kiraz.
it's easy money. But yeah.
And Purdue, Tamale, and Toya on the bench, your fullbacks, mate, which is also your flex position, like the majority.
Yeah, Kalen Ponga. Listened to you and Guru last week. I was actually shocked at his Ponga negativity.
Yeah.
He was very down on him.
He spits a lot of shade this time of year, old Roo. He gets an idea in his head, and he's hard to waver until 2 minutes before lockout, and he goes, I'm just not going to bat myself. And Tim, what'd you say? Nah, I'm just kidding.
Well, he doesn't have to waver until then. It doesn't matter.
No, he's got time.
I love Kalen, and he mentioned something about the attack. He said the Knights' attack could struggle. Had a look. They were 7 points off the worst attack in the comp last year. It can't get much worse. And Ponga still did what he did, so I just think Fletcher Sharp in there, they obviously see something in him. He's exciting. Combination-wise, maybe that hurts, but it probably just means Ponga does more in terms of like just getting simple ball to him. End of sets, he might kick more. I love KP. He's in my side. He's starting. Vice captain round 1. So we'll go from there. Latrell, I do really like Latrell, but again, that run's not magic.
Are you confident going Ponga over Latrell? Like, is that locked in, do you think?
Oh, Ponga hasn't left my side, so it would take something I'd have to see something in the trials.
Would you drop Ponga or Turbo first?
There's no way I'm dropping Turbo.
Okay, so your fullbacks are locked in.
Years, yep.
Barring something big in the trials, they're locked in.
They're locked in, and then Iongi on the bench basically to facilitate the rest of my side. I've got some.
Why? I mean, I know you mentioned why you're so high on Ponga, but like, is there a reason? And I asked this as a bloke who's sitting here, umming and ahhing a bit between Ponga and Latrell. Is there a reason why you're so much keener on him? Is it draw? Or what is it?
Their draw is pretty good. You have it there? I'll have a look. Let's have a look at Ponga. 81 and 87 the last 2 years. I just trust KP. Latrell, we know what can happen with Latrell. He can end up in the bin. He can end up suspended. He does get hurt probably more than Ponga as well.
It's a great draw for the Knights. Tigers round 1, Dolphins round 2, Titans round 3, the round 4 bye, as you mentioned. Doggies round 5, Tigers round 6. So yeah, like
does get a bit harder, but the opening 3 weeks just could be a blitzkrieg.
Plus Tigers twice in the first 6 rounds.
Yeah, but I also just love Ponga. Sometimes you got to go to the blokes you love. I would love to own Latrell as well, but I simply can't afford 3 fullbacks with the side I want to run with. And putting Iongi in, I had a big think about this, and what I realised was if I start with the 3rd fullback, it doesn't really come off, then I've got to go down to Iongi. I'm going to have to do a lot more fixing up through the rest of my squad and use trades to do it. With Iongi, I know you've got to get up to a fullback. Well, you could put him in the flex. It could be any position, but ideal well, get up to a 3rd fullback. With the side I've got, it's not that hard to do. Like, I could just drop back any of these, like Galvin's, Luai Hopewadi as it stands, could go to like, I could save 63,000 off him. There's a few blokes here I could basically go in 2 trades and get up to a gun fullback like Keanu Kinney. I was on the first podcast, obviously, this year with you. I love Kinney. He's not that expensive. He has a bye and then the Bulldogs, who are going to be very tough from a defensive
He's
sense.
over 700k. He's pretty expensive.
Yeah, but not compared to like, what's Latrell?
Like over 800.
Yeah, so it's even more money. So I've had a look. I can get to Keanu Kinney from Iongi in 2 trades if I need to. So that's my fallback plan if things don't work out there, without doing anything to the rest of my side.
Yeah,
which
Latrell's 866k, so very expensive.
It's a lot more money. So I can't get to him, but yeah, up to Kinney, and then I can keep the core of my side I'll set up without having to do heaps of tinkering, which you would probably have to do if you go the other way around. Because if you go, say Latrell gets hurt or something, hopefully not, or one of your gun fullbacks, and you go down to Iongi, he's playing well, you'll have like $500,000 or $600,000. Then you've got to spread it across your squad. So that might be like a 4 or 5 trade operation. You don't want that to start your season.
I think, I mean, you could argue this both ways, but I think people are overthinking the fullbacks and the flex a little bit too much. Not necessarily the flex, but for those that are content on going the 3 fullback option, whether that's 3 guns or 2 guns and an Iongi, I just think you've got a starting fullback who, if you have just 40 or 45, not necessarily worst case, but you would hope it wouldn't be any less. There's big money incoming. It just seems... And the fact that there is the flex now, if there's only 2 fullback spots and you had only 1 gun and Iongi, that'd be a bit different. But you've got 3 fullback spots essentially that you can utilise. And we'll get to him a little bit later, but a certain Cowboys potential number 7, which... just makes the Iongi move a little bit safer as well, potentially. So we'll get to that shortly. But good stuff, Spy. That will be updated as you chop and change your team. The article that is on the website right now, you'll obviously update it on the SC Playbook WhatsApp group as well in the contributors thread.
I reckon, barring anything crazy, most of my lineup's set. In the positions we just said.
That's just a load of... No.
We'll see.
Kiraz will be in there.
I said most.
And
Lehigh was one question mark.
And Lehigh won't be in there. On to our team previews. We start with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Guys, 5 of them to get through. There's some really good questions I want to touch on as well. So we're going to get through them quite quick today and get through these teams. But at the Rabbitohs, Latrell at 1, Tass and Munro on the wings, Graham and White at the centres, Walker and Dodd in the halves. At prop, Totola and Moali, Mamazelos at 9. On the edges, Klamatangi and Arrow, Cam Murray at 13, Havili, Kepi, Duncan and Humphreys on the bench. Couple of blokes in here that's still in a bit of doubt for round 1. Cam Murray, Campbell Graham, Cody Walker. So keep an eye out. Ewan Aitken, he's back early season. Their draws I touched on before. Dolphins away, Dragons away, Sharks away, Panthers at home, Roosters at home. I've got that a 4 out of 10 rating. Our fixture plan, a strength and weakness, that'll be on site in the next hopefully couple of days as well, which will be a ripper read. Matty Perso deep diving into that one for us. Spy, we've spoken about Latrell Mitchell. You're somewhat keen on him, but you're pretty locked on your fullbacks. I like Latrell. I think he's in for a massive year. As you said, he looks fit. Now I just want to see him play a trial and see how he looks.
I'd be super keen. If you've got Trell on your side, I think you should be pretty happy.
Yeah, Keelan Klamatangi at 619k, averaged 63 points in 74 minutes last season across edge and middle. I believe he'll start on the edge this season. Last year, interestingly, in 12 games, he averaged 56.5, so well down on that season average. I do think, though, it's a significantly better Bunnies outfit this season. Hopefully everyone's fit and firing. Bennett comes on board. I don't want to start with him, but Keon could be a significant improve on his current price.
Oh, massive value if the role dictates, but we'll see how that goes. Just quickly on Ponga versus Latrell as well. Ponga's like 80k cheaper. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
It's quite a fair bit of content.
Fair.
Yep.
Cam Murray, 610k. Oh, God. When that news came, he was meant to miss the first sort of 4, 5, 6 sort of weeks of the season. Now expected to be right for round 1. Averaged 62 points in 69 minutes of the last season. It's his lowest average in like over 5 years. 14 games last season, he scored 2 tries and set 1 up. I guarantee you this will increase. I probably can't get him into my squad. If he was fully fit, he'd be in. It is only a hand injury, so the fitness should still be there.
Yeah.
I would like, just coming back from injury, to see him play a trial and get a bit of a hit out, the Charity Shield, hopefully. I'm tempted, but not in my team at the moment. What are your thoughts?
He averaged 63 the year before as well in 21 games.
Yeah.
So is there just... There's been a bit of chat around that they don't want to burn Cam Murray out. They obviously want to keep him as their guy for many a year. His average has gone from 68, 70, 71 to 63 and 62. So I just wonder, is it a little bit of... Does the role just get tweaked enough just to pull that average back a little bit? There's enough here for me just to watch him early, but it's not that big of a leap from me from Samuel Afanu to Murray.
Yeah.
So like something like that's
I'm
pretty
very
tempting.
objective when I look at my Supercoach selections, but when it comes to Cam Murray, like disclaimer, I'm just blinded by him. I love him. Not only is he a great sort, but he's just such a good footballer. And I just sit there and look at his attacking numbers and go, that'll increase. They've sort of eluded him a little bit for whatever reason the last 2 seasons. You throw in last year, the Bunnies were terrible. I know he's not a backline player, but I just think even off the back of that, quicker play the balls, more ruck speed, I just think he'll feast.
You know what else helps him? Is they're coming off the year from hell. They want success. They got Bennett back, so there might not be the thing of like, we'll just pull him back a little bit now with his role, maybe just give him half a spell. It might just be all systems go. Cam, we need you.
Yep.
So See Murray.
I said Kirals will find his way into your team by round 1. Cam Murray will probably find his way into mine. Mate, Cody Walker, 559k. Calf injury to start the season, in doubt to play round 1. Averaged 57 last year, 69 points the year before. Also averaged 57 in 2022. An improved Rabbitohs outfit. You can see Cody Walker getting back to a 65-70 average. It does worry me. He's 35 years old with a calf injury coming into round 1.
Yeah, I'm not going near a calf if it's especially before a ball has been kicked. I think Cody's outstanding, but that's a huge flag. If he finds some form and looks good at some stage during the year, then we'll have a squeeze.
We can tie the next 3 into 1. I'm pretty keen on 2 of them. Campbell Graham's at 505k. In a bit of doubt for round 1, but hopefully expected to play with that broken hand, I think it is. 69-point average in 2023. Didn't play last year, so he's been priced on a 51.5 average this season. Ty Munro, 397k. I'm just hoping and expecting him to lob on that left wing. If he lobs there, absolute gold mine for try scoring. Doesn't need, but Cody being there is a big factor in that as well. And Latrell sweeping. Base will be poor, but I think he can score a lot of tries. And then just the last one that's been overlooked a little bit, Isaiah Tass at 327k. I expect him probably to land on the right wing. At that price, decent base. What are your thoughts on these 3?
I love Isaiah Tass. Yeah, if he's on the wing, he'll be in my side. Lock him in. Good work rate. And obviously he's played a lot of centre for South before, so if he gets on that right edge, Latrell will find him for a couple of tries and happy days. Ty Munro, I said before, I don't want him on my side to start, but it's a long-term investment. If the cheapies don't fall, maybe he'll start on my bench and I can ease him in to the starting lineup as I want him. But yeah, he's got a lot of talent. Some injuries last year, hurt himself a few times, so he's a small body. A little bit of a concern. He's just slightly awkward at 390, but his upside is there, absolutely.
I think he's my little early flyer. I probably wouldn't do it if Cody Walker was out, to be fair, because he's obviously
spine's the
that left edge.
me.
But he's my little flyer, risk attached. I just think I like what the Bunnies have on deck this year, and I think he could score a lot of tries. So risky, but I think I might do it.
Campbell Graham, yeah, if he's healthy, hard to leave out.
Yeah, at that price.
He might be Lehigh. Easy swap, 80k made.
Lewis Dodd, 336k, the Pommy recruit, in a battle with Jamie Humphries, probably has the probably leads at the moment the way. Thoughts?
No.
Pass for me as well. Peter Mamazella, as you mentioned, is in your team. A few big minute games he played last season. 50 points in 55 minutes, had 34 in base. 68 points in 59 minutes, 34 in base. 48 points in 63 minutes, 28 in base. Good scores, had major attacking stats in all of those games. If Humphries is off the bench, I'm thinking maybe there's a little bit of a job share there. If we get word he'll play 80 minutes, I'll start him. I'm just not that convinced at this stage. And if he ends up in a 50 to 60 minute role, I'm not convinced he'll score well enough to sort of really jump from that 302k price tag. Maybe gets to 380, maybe 400. Is that enough when there's some potentially good cheapie hookers on the table? So yeah, not for me at the moment. And Josh Schuster, 265k. I'm not convinced he makes the 17 in round 1. Mate, the West Tigers, I mean, I feel like we've touched on half this squad because you own most of them as it stands already. But starting the season, Knights at home, Eels away, Dolphins away, Warriors at home, Broncos away. It's a good draw. It's a really good draw.
It's insane.
I've got them an 8 out of 10. We've spoken about Lockie Galvin, Appy Coruscant. I think Adam Dewey will kick goals. Appy's suspended for round 1 anyway, so even if he was kicking goals, I don't think we'll know.
Why do you think he doesn't kick? Can I ask? Is that?
I just think Dewey's been a pretty good goal kicker in his career. I know Appy hit him well last year. It might have been like 78%, 77 or thereabouts.
It was about 78. It was very good. I'll look now.
Maybe I'm being a bit too critical. Do you think it'll be Appy?
My gut said Appy would just keep the duties. I thought he did a good job last year. He's there every week. Dewey's injury proneness. I mean, it's just goal kicking. If Dewey's a great goal kicker, he just probably kicks.
My concern is if he does, we're not going to know round 1 because he's
literally won't know.
So if you do pick him and he doesn't goal kick, I think he's overpriced.
So kicked at 85.7% the year before, only in 21 attempts, but that's good going.
Yeah.
And then just shy of 77% last year. So it's pretty solid hitting.
It is.
And he's just skipper. If he's happy to do it, I just thought he would just keep the job, but as you said, we won't know. Even if you want to get Dewey in, which I'm sure we'll touch on in a second, you won't know. Even if he kicks around one, he could lose it.
Yeah. Terrell May, we've spoken about him ad nauseum. Games of 55 minutes plus last season. He averaged 81 points. Granted, there were obviously a lot of games last year for the Roosters when he did play 55 plus where he played like 80
they
minutes.
80, yep.
So a little bit skewed, but we're both very keen on Terrell. Jerome Luai, I don't mind him, Spy, at 582k. And Guru and I just did a halfback and 5'8" positional analysis, which is dropping Wednesday morning. It's just eye test for me with Luai. How's he combined with Galvin? How do the Tigers look? How does he look dominating as number 7? You can go through all the stats that you want to from him with and without Cleary. I think he's averaged about 70 in recent years without Cleary. But going from the Premiers to the Wooden Spooners, playing a new position, I don't think stats mean much. I think it's eye test.
Yeah. When I was writing my team reveal, he was my 5'8".
Yeah.
At the time, I think I changed it halfway through to Galvin. But that's how close he is to my side. I just think 5'8's a tricky spot, and if he can offer some value there, he's one you could take. Eye test for sure. Want to see how he plays in trial. Just a bit of the unknown with him and how it's all going to look.
Yep. Luke Lau-Lily, a cheapie at 288k. May not make round 1, but if he does get named in the team in round 1, worth a bit of a look, especially if we're short on CT Dub cheapies there. He, minus an injury game last year, averaged 40 points per game. Due to having played limited games, he's priced on a 30-point average, so there's potential value there.
He's a bloody powerhouse.
He is. Oh. I don't want the winger outside Jerome Luai unless trials show that he changes his style at the Tigers, which he very well may. He just steps in field a lot. And
he does. Galvin floats a lot though, so what I'm sort of envisioning is Luai to Galvin on that left edge. But as you said, style-wise, traditionally, Luai isn't like that, so we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Royce Hunt, we spoke about a little bit. He's kind of one of them ones where assess the front row forward cheapie seen in round 1. If he's playing decent minutes at that price, 249k, you probably get him in. Adam Dewey is that man. He's not in my team, but something is bringing me towards him. You know, you've got me a little bit concerned about the goal kicking now. If we don't have any confirmation of him kicking with Appy back, I don't want him if he's not kicking, but I just rate him. Like 7 games to finish the season last year, he averaged 49 points per game. He's priced on a 44-point average. Got the reduction due to minimal games played. I'm probably not going to do it. I want to see the Tigers first, but I don't mind him.
Well, 2 years ago, my team was called Do We or Don't We, so you know I love him. Can find an injury, my goodness. He did come back in the centres last year, though, and he hadn't lost any pace. He might have got quicker, which is huge.
I was at that game at Campbelltown. I think it was his first game back, and he ran the field against the Raiders. I was like, awesome. Probably cost us a top 8 spot.
What's going on here? So, yeah, he just worries me. Willie goal kick. How's his health? He's playing in the centres. He's typically played 5'8" or fullback. So there's just some flags there, but, I mean, he's not expensive, so I don't hate it.
Guys, that'll do us with the Tigers. I sat down with Paddy from Mortgage Choice SCW. Guys, if you're in the position where you're looking to buy a house or find out a little bit more about your position there, rates are set to hopefully come down in a couple of weeks' time, that sort of stuff. It's short, it's sharp, but it could be a bit of a game changer for you. So sit through this one, a couple of minutes, and we have a bit of a laugh at him as well. Welcoming back to the show for the first time in 2025. Proud sponsors, long-term sponsors as well.
That's it, mate.
I should say of SC Playbook, Mortgage Choice SCW. Paddy Johnson. Paddy, how are you, mate?
Back for another year of pain, my friend. Another Supercoach heartache for me, I reckon.
Well, on that one, mate, one of the last times you were on the podcast, about mid-year last year, you were very up and about. You were very loud and boisterous, top 100. I noticed there wasn't a lot of crowing later on in the season. Can you tell us how that finished up?
Mate, I was just like Brooksy with his Dally M run. Started hot and I faded off quick. Look, no comment on where I did end up finishing, but I'm back. It's a new season. I'm ready to go, and I'm raring hot, mate. Raring hot.
That's what I should have said about my rank call last year. Whenever I asked, just no comment, no comment. Mate,
don't worry about it.
Mate, I sit here each and every week, and I plug Mortgage Choice SCW and what they can offer to the SC Playbook listeners. But it's good to get you in here and actually explain it from the horse's mouth what can actually offer. So tell the listeners what they can do if they reach out.
Mate, the big one coming up in the industry, all the talk is at the moment on the 18th, the RBA are meeting. Now, what that means is a potential rate cut. So for those of you who do have a mortgage, means could be some big savings coming up. It also means that borrowing capacity will get a little bit higher if they do cut rates. So for those of you who have been thinking about maybe getting into the market, it's a really good time to put a plan together for the year, see what your buying options look like, and have a chat, mate. Already, this season had a few listeners, come in and have a chat, and there's been some good results so far.
And that's the beauty of it, mate, because you listen to the podcast, say it every week, but it's a free consultation. You save the SC Playbook punt is $129. So, where they're looking to get into the housing market or want to know more about their rates and what they can save, it's completely free if they get in contact with you, and they can do so how?
Mate, best way is probably through the Instagram, Mortgage Choice SCW. But you can call us on 9521 1611. All the details are on your website. You'll plug them in there as well. Also, guys, we're launching a new jersey. So this is the one from last year. I'll get it out there. It should be in the next couple of weeks. But anyone that comes and talks to us and goes ahead is going to get one of those. So there's quite a few listeners last year that are plugging these around the gym.
Oh, you don't go
Not me, mate.
Look at the size of you. You don't go to the gym. You sit there and you walk on a treadmill.
I sit there and watch. No, weird guy.
Yeah, that one. Hey, Paddy, appreciate the support as always, mate. SC Playbook couldn't do what we do without you, so thank you very much. And look, better luck to the Supercoach side this year.
Looking forward to a big year. Thanks, mate.
Thanks to Paddy for the ongoing support and for jumping on the show this week. Spy, moving on to the Sydney Roosters, our next club preview. First 5 games of the season, the Broncos at home, the Panthers away, the Warriors away, the Titans at home, and the Rabbitohs away. First 5 round rating of a 5 out of 10. So a bit of a mixed draw, a bit of opportunity, but a little bit tough at the same time. Mate, there's 17. I have Tedesco at 1, Tupu and Young on the wings. The centre spots are completely up for grabs. I've got Billy Smith and Mark Nwanga-Nitawazi. Robert Toyer's obviously pushing there, and there's a few other faces, Junior Ponga as well. So keep an eye on that battle. Sandon Smith and Townsend in the halves. Lenu and Collins up front. Watson at 9. The edges of Angus Crichton and Nat Butcher. Victor Radley at 13. Granted, that team named again. Keep an eye on the back row, as we said. White, Butcher, Steep and Wong on the bench. The bench, there's also a lot of competition there for spots. Spy at the Roosters. I mean, James Tedesco, straight off the bat, 920K. He can't go any higher, can he? Surely.
You wouldn't think so. He might be able to do similar, potentially.
Yeah,
but
the thing is, with no Sammy Walker there, no Luke Cleary, Cheese is gone. It's a very different team. He might just put it all in himself, but
fair to say he'll have half a crack.
Yeah.
I won't be starting with him. I think it's a bold play. The one I just don't think I can afford it, but I wouldn't mind just starting with Angus Crichton. Top echelon back rower. Lock him in your side while others look for mid-ranges. Obviously, I would have to give up another position, but yeah, I mean, he's an absolute gun. He probably does something similar. You might not find necessarily value, but while others might get stuck with some 30 and 40s, he might just start the season averaging 80, 90
he
again.
didn't play the full 80 to start last season, so he's priced on a 74-minute average. So you could argue that, he'll start the year and he'll play 80 minutes, that he's potentially a little bit undervalued. My concern would be new halves combinations. You bring in Townsend there, Sandon Smith, just gelling with new halves, back rowers. It's something that I want to see unfold. He'll be a must-have. I just can't justify it from round 1.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe if you did want to go that elite back row, maybe now that David Fafita's fit, it's him. But halves definitely a concern because combinations take time. But he was good last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think Connor Watson, we've both spoken about. We're both pretty keen on that dual 2RF hooker at 583K.
Dom Young, absolutely not. I just saw his name there, and that's not a knock on him. But speaking of new halves pairing and how much footy's going to get out to the wing, no more Joey Manu. Do not go near Dom Young.
Jeez.
Not right now.
How do you really feel, Spy?
He's 700K.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do think it's another big trial watch because let's see who lands inside him. I feel like Billy Smith in the past has been a left edge centre. I have no idea what Nwanga-Nitawazi is going to throw up in terms of ball play and all that. He strikes me as a ball runner, but let's see. Robert Toyer, probably more a ball runner as well. If you can get someone in there who's got a deft little touch on for them and loves a tip on, maybe. But again, I'd need to see something substantial in the trials to consider him.
Don't go near him.
The thing is, the huge upsides there. Anyway, Spies are giving his thoughts. Would you consider... I just think that centre spots, we could have Billy Smith. We could have Robert Toyer at the price. If he starts, he'll be in. Nwanga-Nitawazi, bit awkwardly priced at 438K, but like in limited NRL time and
trial watch
looks unreal. So he's a sneaky little one.
He did look good.
We kind of touched on the likes of White and Wong and all that early on in the show, Spy, with the team list. So was there anyone else that you sort of wanted to touch on at the Roosters?
Not really, no. I think we covered it, mate.
Alrighty. At the Dolphins, they start the season with games against the Rabbitohs at home, the Knights away, the Tigers at home, the Broncos at home, and the Titans away. Mate, I've got that as an 8 out of 10 draw rating to start the season. Pretty tidy, and if you like Dolphins, well, the draw's good. Their side, there's a few spots up for grabs here too. I've got the Hammer at fullback, Asako and Junior Tupu on the wings, Bostock and Farnworth at centre, Averillo and Katoa in the halves. Not the way I'd go about the team. I'd probably have Averillo at centre. I don't love him in the halves, but I'm also not the coach of the Dolphins, so it counts for very little. Dan Saifidi, the recruit, and Kofusi in the front row. Marshall King at 9. Fini Furiaki and Lemuelu in the back row with Max Plath at 13. Donahue, Gilbert, Stone, and Big Marky Nichols, the GOAT, on the bench. Spy, there's a lot of different ways they could go with this side for round one.
Yeah.
I think it'll be close enough to that, but who's sort of on the radar here? I've seen a bit of chat about Hammer, but he's fullback only this year. The appeal of him last year was that he was dual fullback CT dub. I started last year with him at centre, loved him, got injured, all good, but at fullback, I'm not keen. Anyone who strikes you there?
Obviously, post-Wayne era, we just got to see what happens because traditionally that doesn't bode well for sides. Not to say Dolphins can't buck that trend. For me, this is an absolute flyer, but Herbie Farnworth last year was utterly insane.
I don't think it's a flyer. I think it's, are you willing to pay the cash up?
Yeah, a flyer with the cash, I should say. I don't know, wrong description.
Yeah.
But his base, like you can check his normal base, but then if you add in his tackle bus and offloads, it's otherworldly. So it's like, do you, with a good draw, just go, this kid's just going to get better and better.
Averaged 74 last year. Didn't he just fly under the radar? And to be fair, there are a few injuries where he was sort of in and out, so it made it hard probably for people to invest.
Yeah, and then it wasn't through like bulk try scoring either. He certainly had his attacking stats, but if just go on the Supercoach app when you get a chance and just have a look at his tackle busts, offloads, tackles and runs. It's absurd. It's very expensive to start, but look, if you want to pay up for someone with an upside, but a very good base.
It's expensive, but as you said, it's not an expensive CT dub based on scoring a shit ton of tries. It's base, it's power, so you like...
Reliable stats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's just a maybe. He's not in my side, but just someone I've just flagged as a maybe if the cash allowed come round one.
I want to see post-Wayne Bennett era Dolphins.
Yep.
I just want to see how they go about the things. Again, like... It's a new halves combination. It looks like probably going to be Averillo there. I see what edge players lob on. I want to see them unfold. Jeremy Marshall-King, I think there's enough decent hooking cheapies, whether you double cheapie or you go with a gun and a cheapie. Not in my team, but, mate, averaged 57 points per game last season, excluding an injury game and the 2 games he had back from injury in limited minutes. He averaged 63. Marshall King only had 4 assists and 2 tries last year. He's better than that attacking wise. He's owned by 3.6% of teams at 555k. The big thing will be minutes. You know, with Maxi Plath sitting there, Kurt Donahue, a few options that can spend time at hooker. If we got word of him playing 80, I see a big uptick in Jeremy Marshall King.
Yeah, he's full of talent. I'm a big fan of him.
So good.
But gee, burnt me pretty bad last year.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
I owned Robson the whole season. Started with him, I was going well. Must have been one of the bye rounds for Origin. I'm like, I'll bring him in because he plays 16 and 19 from memory, the 2 bye rounds. Before I'd finished my warm-up for footy for the Mighty Ferrets, I'd gone into the sheds and I'll just quickly check how he was going before we did our final warm-up and go on the ground. So I just grabbed my phone, quick first try score about myself, checked his score, and he'd already done his foot. Like, I didn't even get it to see him pass a ball after giving up Robson, who'd been so reliable and actually spiraled me for about a month because I had not planned that trade.
Oh.
So I'm pretty burnt. But, yeah, he's awesome.
Spy, last one at the Dolphins. One not in your team. One that I feel relatively good about. Kuli Kefu Fini Furiaki. Last season, averaged 38 points at the Cowboys in 54 minutes per game. Only played a handful of NRL games thus far in his career, pretty early on. Really promising. Almost reminds me a bit of like an early Viliami kick-out or probably a better one is maybe like an Eli Katoa who struggled to get a start at the Warriors. plenty of talent, runs a great line, very hard to tackle, very cheap to start the year. If he lobs into an 80-minute role, which every chance, it does look like Kafushi's gone to a middle role this season, no interest for you?
He fits right in my category of one of those guys that could go well, but could just be a pain in the ass. So I want to avoid early, but yeah, he fits in the category of he might be the perfect bring-in around 3 or 4 if he's going well, but I want to see the minutes first.
I'm pretty interested. Mate, moving on to our final team preview at the Gold Coast Titans. They have the bye in round 1, but they do have some relevant players. They start the season by Cowboys away, Broncos at home, Tigers away, Warriors away. First 5-round rating of 6 out of 10. I mean, don't be entirely put off by the bye if you like someone enough, but it doesn't help things, does it? We've spoken about Tino. I'll get up my little predicted 17. I mean, he's a tough one to predict the 17 of the Gold Coast Titans. This, to quote the Guru, could be anything. Kinney at fullback, Camperera and Fafita on the edges, Kelly and Sammy at centre, Brimson and Foran. Look, this is what I've got in the halves because that's what I would do. Word out of is that it'll be Jaden Campbell and Brimson in the halves. Keep an eye on that. There was also chat the other day before and was carrying an injury. He's been named in the trial this week, so I don't know what to make of it. Fodawaker and Campbell Gillard up front. Campbell Gillard and Dave Fafita actually in a little bit of doubt for round 1, so may not have too many big minutes in the trials. Verrills at 9. That was interesting, wasn't it? Because Fafita was in doubt for round 1. He was named in the teams.
Today, yeah. They said something, I read today, that he'd just been blitzing training and just rehabbing well, which is...
Great sign.
It's a great sign.
Fafita and Firmo on the edges. Tino Fasua Malawi at lock. And a bench of I've got Campbell, Joloff, Pahulu and Randall. Who do you like here, Spy? So we sort of touched on a couple of them already, the main one being Tino Fasua Malawi, but is there anyone else who catches the eye? You've spoken about Keanu Kinney, Jaden Campbell. Guru and I have a great chat about him on the podcast tomorrow. Anything to add?
Mate, looking forward to that chat with you and Guru, to be honest. That'll be good. In the halves there, I've spoken about Keanu Kinney. I'll be watching him like a hawk in that round 2 Bulldogs game post-bye, just to see how he's looking, whilst I monitor Iongi. And even Ponga. I mean, Ponga in round 4 bye. I'll be reluctant to drop Ponga, but if Kinney's doing what I think he could, they could be a little straight swap there for some cash round 4. But I just want to monitor Kinney. Outside of that, they could just be bloody good to watch. So I just want to see how it all
going
unfolds.
To be great to watch.
They've heap of guys with potential. Jaden Campbell, you said you spoke about. He's got mass upside. He goal kicks. He attacks. He does a bit of everything. So
he's the one where it's a shame they've got the round 1 bye, but if we know he's starting the halves, which he probably is by the sounds of it, and we're sitting on who are the 5'8", who are the 5'8", and you go, Jaden Campbell was untouchable last year at stages.
Maybe it's him.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Jaden, and then the rest of them, Fafita for sure, right in the mix if healthy. And I just want to watch how they play their footy, to be honest. Those opening few rounds, see what the lineup looks like, see if it sticks. There's a lot of talent up on the Gold Coast. So.
Yeah. There's too much talent. They just need to put it all together and find a way to do that most effectively. And just one to flag, if you can string some games together, I think AJ Brimson, put it this way, if he strung games together without any injury, I think he could be in 50% of teams by around 8 or 9.
I love him at 5'8".
Because if he's playing 5'8", he's going to score well. He's available at CT dub. He'd get dual CT dub 5'8". He's currently 539K. Can't do it with concerns, not job security, but like what if he moved to centre or what if he moved to the 14 or whatever it might be, adding the injury. There are too, and the bye, there's too many red flags, but...
I would have started with him in the centres if he didn't have the bye.
Yeah.
I've already got Tino. So... unless he was a slam dunk. But if he didn't have the bye, I'd probably start him because I've owned him at 5'8" before. He's got a pretty neat little short kicking game as well. He tackles more. He's just involved so much at 5'8". The other one, of course, is Bo Fermor.
Yeah,
in the centres there. He's an option as well. But again, that bye just puts me off a bit, spending that much on a bloke where I can probably get someone without the bye that is sort of similar pedigree, but he's good.
On to a few questions. There were some great questions that came in. All those squad previews, I'm working my way through them, but they will all be on site with analysis on the guns, mid-ranges, cheapies, teams, all that sort of stuff. So check those out. We're about 10 of the way through, and I'll hopefully get through those by the end of the week or the next sort of 10 days. First one from Matty Broom. Hey guys, great start to 2025. Just wanting to know who is the player you've seen in a lot of teams that you just don't rate, Spy?
I Where are we here? Jack Bird and Schuster. They're my two. Jack Bird, just injury risk role. I don't know what it's going to be. Again, he's just in that mid-range back row. I think he's available in the centre. Is that right? So that gives him some appeal if he is.
CT dub to RF, yeah. 379K.
So that's obviously huge, but I just think, I just want to see it before I bring him my side.
Yeah, I've got Jack Bird on that list too. I have not had any interest in him. I don't even know if he's going to start round one. The only way I would be interested in him is if he landed a big minute edge roll. I just don't know how many minutes he'll get in the middle, injury prone. For the record, I think he could be, if he stays fit, the value signing of the season.
Definitely.
The Nathan Brown of last year kind of thing, or this year. I just want to see it first. I want to see what minutes he plays, what his role is, all of that. The one for me, Matt, I'm just getting up his ownership here, but it is another Tiger. But it's Jarrell Skelton, who's pretty popular to start the season. I've seen a lot of chat around Jarrell. I see the appeal in him. Like, he tackle bus, he's got a good work rate, he's quick. You know, there's comparisons to like Greg Marju and to a lesser degree probably Jacob Kiraz, but I just don't know how good the Tigers' attack's going to be. I think job security is okay. He'll probably be there round one, but defensive reads have been a concern in the past, so what does that look like? He's a bloke who could come out and average 70 in base and power the first 3 rounds without any tries, and people will be scrambling to get him. Again, I just want to see it first.
Let's prove it. I think, you know, to my Tiger stuff before, I've got 3 in the starting lineup, 4 if I go Seyfarth, but they're not blokes who rely on tries on the wing.
There's a difference, yes.
They're workers. They've got potential to score tries, but I'm not relying on that. So that's the big one. And Galvin's Galvin. He's in his own sort of universe there. But, yeah, Tigers wingers, let's see how they're tracking before we start doing that. But Skelton's obviously, with his work rate, he's the kind of bloke that he could be in our sides. But I wouldn't say I necessarily would go against him, but just don't be set that, oh, yes, he's a big tackle-busting winger. That doesn't mean he's definitely going to do the job, but he could. So I think he's sort of maybe a little bit 50-50 for me, but yeah.
And, like, you know, apologies to Tigers fans for being a bit harsh on him, but I think they'll sit there and say, you think the majority of them say, as optimistic as they can be, the fact is they've won 3 wooden spoons in a row. If he was on the wing at the Panthers or, you know, the Roosters or the Storm or someone, you'd just lock him in.
Must own.
But he's not. So
let's see. Like, Tigers hope they'll improve, and they could well, but we just want to see it because you don't need to take too many risks in round one for Supercoach.
Yep.
You might take, you know, I might take a Lehigh Hopewadi, but I don't want to scatter blokes across my side who I'm not sure on. So that's what I'm really looking to do, is just watch a game and feel somewhat confident they're going to do the job in the initial stages of the year for me. Whereas at times in the past, I remember looking around one and going, oh, this bloke makes me nervous and this bloke makes me nervous, and maybe I've stacked some other spots. I've just got a bit more solidarity across the board just to start this year, and then we'll go from there.
Good to hear, Spy. Real good to hear. The one and only DVG. Hi, Timmy and crew. We know a high percentage of teams will have at least one of Cleary or Hines at halfback to start the season for obvious reasons. If both of them were injured during the trials and you were forced to start another halfback, who would it be? I'm going to tie a bit into this, Spy, and I've sort of touched on it, teased at it throughout the whole show. I've currently got Cleary and Hines. I have a huge chat about this to start our show tomorrow with Guru. But Tom Duffy, we're under the impression that we think he is now the front runner at the Cowboys to start at halfback. His bottom dollar, $198K, whatever the bottom dollar is this season. And it's thrown a cat amongst the pigeons because I was very happy with my starting halves. If Tom Duffy starts, I don't think he'll goal kick. I think Drinky will probably goal kick. But
he could.
But he could goal kick, but regardless, a starting halfback, playing games in Townsville where it's always a pretty dry, fast track, good for point scoring, it's going to be hard not to start with him.
Yeah, I'm hearing very, very good things about him. I think his Queensland Cup numbers
he
were
destroyed
outstanding.
Queensland Cup last year.
So that's good enough for me to slot him into my lineup. The only reason I probably wouldn't do that is if Nico comes out in these trials and he's just looking back to his best and healthy, confident, lots of touches, then I might reconsider, but he's hard to pass up if he's starting. I've got a little spot reserved for him. I just don't want to put him in yet because then I've got to rejig my side by going up again, so it's just easy to go down to him and free up some cash round one if he's named.
I've got Cleary, Hines as it starts, but let's say Duffy does start. I'm probably going to go one of Cleary or Hines and Duffy. Again, listen to my full chat with Guru tomorrow if you can on beers and break-evens, but I like outside of round one, I like the Sharks draw. I like Nico fully fit. He had a calf injury for a lot of last year. So at a cheaper price, with as much upside realistically as Cleary, I don't mind it. Cleary coming into the season with a shoulder, not shoulder injury, but off-season shoulder surgery.
If Jerome was at Penrith, I would agree. But
He
I
could
just
do
think
everything.
Cleary's just got to do it all. And it might not even be the crazy physical stuff, but he might just do everything, and he might sweep both sides finally because he has to and all this stuff. So, yeah, he could start steadily on the back of injury news and whatnot, but he could go mental as well.
Next one from Papa Blackhead, one of the great men. Would you use the flex position for just a gun fullback or use it for a dual position player like a CT dub back row, second row, etc.? I think it ties into the last question quite well because for those of us, and there's a lot of us starting Isaiah Iongi, and we've got sort of him in the flex position or a third fullback, it does leave a bit of wiggle room now that Duffy's there, that let's say Iongi doesn't perform well, and you don't own Duffy, and Duffy goes well, you can maybe flip those around. Or let's say you start with one of the gun fullback or 3 gun fullbacks and one of them doesn't go well and Duffy starts well, you can get him. If you're really keen on Hines and Cleary, which I am, maybe your flex could be Duffy.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, there's all this talk of fullback being the getting a third fullback for the flex. It makes sense to me. Feel free to think outside the square. It's the first time we've had the flex. It doesn't have to be that way. It makes sense to me. Are you like set and forget on 3 fullbacks?
I'm definitely not set and forget, and I'll definitely will turn my mind to other options at some stage in the preseason. At the moment, though, it just looks like Iongi is such a good cheapie at his price and his role, so it's sort of hard to pass up. But yeah, if someone turned up like a Duffy and I really wanted a Cleary and Hines and not play Iongi, I'm not against that at all. I don't mind it. So yeah, definitely I'll stay open-minded about that for sure.
One from Nashi, Lomax being confirmed kicking or just people running with Guru's theory? I think Moses will kick. I'll put this in for 2 reasons. One, to confirm that Moses, I believe, out of his mouth potentially, has said that it's Lomax goal kicking this season. He's the first choice. Secondly, I just love people putting shit on Guru. So I thought I'd get in there. And yeah, he does have his theories. So don't believe everything the man says. And I've just shut my laptop. Spy, next question from Ball Ingenuity. How do you guys rate the double cheapie hooker strategy this year? Will at least one of Smith or Mamazelos be playable each round, you reckon? Cheers. We've both at the moment got Watson and a cheapie hooker. What are your thoughts on the double hooker?
Yeah, I quite like it. Watson could shift down to the back row. I could not play Watson entirely. I started with double cheaper hooker, and just watching caught my attention. So I think I quite like it if you want to go that way.
I don't mind it at all.
Yep.
I like Watson. I'll probably have Sandon Smith. In fact, now that I sort of always had Sandon Smith as my backup hooker, but the fact that Duffy is now looking like he'll be available as a cheapie halfback option, I think that cements Sandon Smith in the hooker slot for me. But I'm not against penning round one team list and roll, running him with, whether it's Brendan Hands or whether it's Peter Mamazelos, because I think Sandon Smith starting in the halves, I should say, for the Roosters, starting 5'8", goal kicking, I think he's playable each week.
And if you have a look at it, he's surely going to be in most 17s anyway. So whether he's playing on your bench or you're starting hooker, he's still scoring the same points for you. So, yeah, Sandon for sure.
Spy, it was a big show. We got through a lot. Poor old Matty's caught a cold over there. Sorry, mate. I just needed to get through it, and I know you're a busy man anyway. Anything to add, Matty? We've absolutely brushed you. I do apologise.
This show's gone long enough. I'm all good. I'm all good.
I noticed how big a week you'd had coming into this, and there's been a lot going on, so I was actually doing you a favour, mate.
Seriously, you were. You actually were. Thank you.
Spy, thank you very much, mate.
I'm dead set knackered. It's been a cracker.
Yeah.
Whew.
5 teams we got through. There was a lot there.
Nice.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you're watching on YouTube, do us a favour, subscribe to the channel. The same if you're on the podcast on Spotify, Apple. Does big things for us and helps us out by doing that. So if you do, please do it. Check out the SC Playbook subscription on our website and have a great week.